Hello, everybody. Arabic Witch here. Oh, hello, everybody. Arabic Witch here. And today I get the pleasure of interviewing Barbara Walters. Sorry, I lost you. Of the witchy community, Arwen Lynch. Hello, Arwen.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much. I'm pretty excited about this because I love to talk, as y'all know. So I'm really excited to hear what the questions are.
They're going to sound a little familiar. I took a page from your book. I always watch your interviews, and you do such a lovely job, by the way. And
Thank you.
your questions are very unique, and so I figured, I was like, okay, I want to know what her answers are going to be. So what is the first thing you remember about witches in general?
Oh
A
gosh.
movie?
Let me think about that because probably it was Bugs Bunny's Witch Hazel. And she's a little fat witch that rides around on a broom cackling and trying to capture and eat Bugs Bunny. Uh, I'm typing on the computer, so I'm letting people know that we're out here. Um, but
Thank you
I
so much
really
for letting me do this on your channel, by the way. We couldn't get it to work on mine. Sorry about that.
but I really loved Witch Hazel because she was always cooking and she had this great big cauldron. And then my next memory was let me see if I can get the I don't know. I can't get the books down, can I? Hang on, I'll be right back, y'all. Um were these children's books by Ruth Chu, and I collect them, so I've got a whole bunch. I don't know if that's showing up or not.
No such thing as a witch.
Um,
Yeah, I see it.
yeah, and you
I
see,
never read that.
they're little bitty, and they were scholastic, and they're from like I don't know how old are they? 71. So I was 10 when they came out, or this one came out. Um, and there was a couple of others. It was like Half Magic, which was by Edward somebody. But so books threw me into the world of witches. I read The Hobbit when I was about 9 years old. I was that kid that my mom used the library as a babysitting service, and she would drop my sister and I off, and I read my way through the kids' literature. And by the time I hit 9, the librarian took me to the junior section and said, "Oh my God, we've got to get this kid something else." And she pulled The Hobbit out, which was, was a huge book. And my mother said she was just appalled when the next Saturday I took the book back to her and I went, "What do you have that's like this?"
That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you, because I have a lot of things I want to know. Like, how did you get to this path? What brought you to it?
Kind of a roundabout way. When I was about 16, I had I loved the priest at my church. I was raised Episcopal, high Episcopal. There's low Episcopal, which is more like Methodist, and high Episcopal is kind of Catholic light. We've got all the ritual and the incense and the bells, but our priests get married. That's pretty much the only true difference that I can think of off the top of my head. And I had a crisis of faith with him. He told me one thing and then turned around and said another thing from the pulpit. It was about women priests. And at that time, I had no real grasp of how political religious organizations can be. Even witches' covens can be super political. But it kind of made me step away from the church. It made me think, I'm not okay with that. I'm just not okay with that because I felt like he lied to me, right?
Right.
But so from there, from 16 to, and then I got to college. Decided I was a lesbian in college. Didn't have that same decision in high school. I was very much heterosexual in high school. Um, and then when I moved to a town called Bowling Green, I met other lesbian witches, and I started practicing with them. Let's see, Cheryl, Lane. I don't remember who the other girl was, but well, girl, we were all probably 25 to 35, somewhere in that range, and it spoke to me. It just made such sense. Because of that little group, we invited an author to come speak. Her name is Diane Stein. She's just a lovely, lovely person. She did a ritual at my house that was open, so we invited a lot of witches and pagans from the area, and some Toledo witches showed up. And that was Lady Liana and her daughters, Hope and Phaedra. Excuse me, Phaedra and Ninian. Not Hope. I don't know why I said that, but Phaedra and Ninian. And I clicked with them, and they invited me to come to some rituals. And from there, I dedicated to the path, and that's pretty much all she wrote.
That's amazing. Now, I remember watching an interview with you, and you said that your sister was Catholic, right? She's a very devout Catholic.
Episcopal.
So, or Episcopal. So, and it's very similar too, because I'm Orthodox, and Orthodox and Catholic Episcopal are very similar, except Orthodox, they have, we don't have confession. That's pretty much the only difference. But so, how did your family to this path that you chose, if they had a reaction?
Um, Mom was a little put off by it at first, but she got over it. We talked. My mother and I, Mom's been gone almost 15 years now, but
I'm
she and I
sorry.
talked. We communicated really well. And, we talked about it. And the biggest thing for her was when she was dying of cancer, she was upset one night and she said, I really feel like I'm not going to see you after I die. And I said, Mom, I'm sure they give out day passes. Um,
Aw.
but my sister has been very, she understands, she accepts me for who I am. It's not even tolerance. She's accepting. Um, right now, we don't really reveal it to my niece because my niece turned 16 this year. And, you've got a lot of other things to deal with than knowing your aunt's a bisexual witch, right? There's just a lot more in life to deal with at that age. So she doesn't really need that complication in her world.
Right.
But my grandmother never knew. Most of my family is staunch Catholic. So that may be where you pick that up from. My mom was actually raised Catholic and returned to the Catholic Church after I was grown and out of the house. But it's the family that does know, they're accepting of it. Some of them pray for me, and that's okay. Energy is
Mm,
energy. You know, um,
I
I
totally agree.
I don't think God, whatever God is, has time to go down and go, oh, you are not on the path your family wants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you asked this question. Have you ever had a spell that backfired on you or just didn't give you the result that you wanted?
Oh my God, yes. I'm pulling up the live chat too right now, but yes, yes,
Mm.
yes, yes, yes. It was a love spell. I was trying to attract
Of
somebody,
course.
and I
Those
had
are always the
somebody
ones.
right, and I had somebody in mind. So I didn't name them, but in my
Mm.
list, they were like a shoehorn fit man right in. And but I said I want somebody who's right for me now. That now was a big old tricky thing because I didn't get the person I wanted. No, I got somebody else, and they were right for me maybe one or two nights. And after that, they were just a little clingy, freaky, go the heck away people. So that was not good. That was not good. I mean, the sex was awesome for a couple of days. And then after that, I was like, oh, you got to go. Um,
I'm telling you, that's so funny because those are usually the ones that do backfire, is the love spells. Um, so so I wanted to ask you, when you work with do your magic, what element do you work with the most? Like fire?
You would think that because I'm a Pisces with a lot of water in my chart, I would say water. But when I look about my room and I think, what element do I work with the most? It's going to be stones. I've got stones everywhere you look. There's some
Mm,
form of crystal or stone. Um, so and herbs, I love. I don't use a lot of them right now. Long story. I don't. My witch's pantry is toast. But In general, I really am a stone witch. I work a lot with rocks and crystals.
Now, let me ask you, I just did a video on magic and the physical effects that it can have on a person. Like, for example, I pulled a filling and I couldn't do any spell work until I got that tooth pulled, because every time I would do it, it would go right to my tooth and I would have such pain, like agonizing pain. Have you ever had an experience like that?
Um, if my energy is low, the only kind of spell work I will do is stuff to raise my energy. But if I'm sick, I don't read tarot. You won't see me on YouTube. I don't do any magic work. Um, I'll put out a call to my friends and say, guys, I'm down. I need some Reiki. I need some energy. Whatever you can send. But yeah, I can't do. I'm a writer, right? And I can't write when I'm like that either, because all of my energy has turned from anything outside and going to focus on healing. And I'm also kind of a whiny baby when I'm sick.
Me too.
So I don't want to do anything but focus on how sick I feel. So
And
yeah.
And Arwen, I'm glad you say that, because people don't realize the energy it takes to do readings for people. I don't even do them. Like, I won't even do any readings because I feel like I open myself up to that person and all their energy. And sometimes some people have an energy that I'm just not willing to mingle with, Do you ever feel like have you ever come across somebody that you were reading for that you just saw way too much that you just didn't want to see, maybe, or anything like
Yeah.
that?
When I first started reading professionally, I read on a 1-900 line. Literally, those $5 a minute things that just rip people off. And they rip the readers off, y'all, because the readers are working for a big company and making about $1 out of that. But yeah, I had people that, because I read so much, because I was doing it over the phone reading back then, or still for me, there's a different energy exchange. You're still connecting with that person. Some people think you can't read like this, like you can't read because you're not in touch with that person. But I am. I mean, I can feel the other person pretty easily. But when I was reading on that, I actually got so open that it felt like I was getting input from people as I was driving down the street. I thought I was losing my mind, and I went and got on drugs. I went to a counselor. I had them put me on medication. I mean, I was afraid I was going to kill myself, seriously, because I was getting all this funk, just like blown open wide from an entire city. I lived near New Orleans at that point, and it was bad. And I had to learn. I didn't live where my high priestess was anymore, so I had to contact Liana and talk to her about it. And she taught me some techniques, and one of them is real easy. You imagine that you are a water spout, right, or a water faucet, and you open it up or you close it. Oh wait, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Yeah, you close it down or you open it up as you need to. She also taught me about some different kind of filters in terms of shielding. And so I'm no longer just like wide open to people. I have filters that it's almost like a water filtration system. People come in and certain stuff, I can't deal with that. That's got to go away. And only people that I am super close to. I'm Aquarius rising. So I am super picky about people that I'm really close to. I have lots of acquaintances. I have lots of people I adore and love and will chit chat with. But people that I'm going to sit down and get real open and real heart to heart with are fairly few. And one of them I've known since I was 16, 15. I just turned 56, and it's been 41 years this year.
Well, happy belated birthday, my darling. You don't look a day over 30.
I have good genes, man.
You do. So I know you're married. You've mentioned your husband a couple of times.
Mhm.
Does he share this path with you, or
Not at
no?
all. Not at all. He's agnostic. He's an air sign. He's very scientific. He's very prove it. He has listened to me do readings before. He doesn't hear the other person because I have this on. And you only come to my ears. But once I did a reading and we were just starting to date, and he said, I get what you do. I get what you're doing. You're helping people. And he understands that it's important to me and he supports me in that. But no, he's not pagan. If anything, agnostic.
That's good. At least he's supportive. Some spouses aren't supportive at all, so it's amazing that he is. So let's talk deities. Do you work with any deities? Yeah.
I do. I'm rather closed mouth about whom. Um,
Okay.
but in my practice, I'll talk about themselves or the old ones. My personal view of God is there's a void. From the void came one, from the one came two, and from the two came many. And it's all about the energy. I honestly believe that the Godheads we know as Diana, Hecate, Apollo, Odin, went dormant because they weren't getting fed energy by worshippers. Now, I think the Norse gods hung in there a little bit longer because Asatru is actually still, I think it's I think it's the official religion of Iceland, I think. So I think that those deities had continual worship. But some of the bigger names like Hecate, Morrigan, they had, and Venus. I don't think Venus ever went to sleep. Maybe during the Victorian age. But and for me, Godhead is an energy form that we as worshipers feed with our energy, with our devotions, our candles, our incense.
That
And
is
I
such a good. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
That was just an amazing view on it. I never even looked at it that way until you just brought that up. That's amazing. Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
No,
was agreeing with you.
and and I use pantheons, and I use the word mythology for every pantheon. When I'm reading for somebody, I will say, look, I'm going to use the word mythology for Christianity, for Asatru, for Hindu, for Buddhism, for paganism, all of it, because level playing field. That way I don't bump one or the other up. I said, I don't know what your religion is. If you've read my website, I'm pretty open that I am Wiccan. I am a witch. But they're all mythologies. And it's which mythology do I bring into my life as my reality? And because they're all mythologies to me, it's really hard for me to judge somebody else, or think somebody else is cuckoo crazy for worshiping one God, when I may worship 16.
So let me ask you, you help people with your readings. Do people ever come to you for like medium work, like to contact the spirit of, somebody that passed away, or?
They don't intentionally come to me for that, but often, a little too often sometimes, I get people who show up. Um, I read for some other YouTube witches, and a couple of them have spirits that show up continually. And one of them, we're not sure who the spirit is. We don't know if it's a way back ancestor or a spirit guide. I've had guides show up. I've had deity show up. That was really what freaked me out the first time
Wow.
that happened. And since then, I've been told um, to do my matron patron readings. And so I have an email reading where I will use tarot, and I actually do what most people would call prayer before I do it, and talk to my deities and ask them to allow me to be a mouthpiece for this person's spirit guides, their deity, whatever. And that's been pretty interesting. That's been a really intriguing. I've done that as a video chat once, and that person's was a triple goddess deity, not one. It's actually not a Western; it's an Eastern triple that showed up, and it was really quite clear. And I keep pointing over here because when I do a reading, you know what? It doesn't ever matter where I sit. They always come in. They always come in from over on this side, and this is what is south, west, the east side. That's interesting. I never realized that, but they always come in from the east side when I'm doing a reading. But I've had dead people show up when I'm doing readings. I was at a conference with a bunch of people, actually people I knew pretty well, most of them, and was reading for a friend of mine, and had one of his relatives show up carrying a really large butcher knife. Thank you very much. Scared the crap out of me. But I don't see like I see you, right? I don't see it's
I was just
really
about to ask you. You must be that good, because that was my next question. How do you see these people or these entities?
Let me tell you a ghost story. A friend of mine asked me to come over to her house. She was living in a house that was divided up. I got my eyes closed so I can see it more clearly. And her house was divided up, so they had people living in different apartments. And it was an old Victorian home. It was built about 1900 to 1909. It was in a town called Bowling Green, Ohio, and it was a gas boom town. And so that when the gas boom happened in the early 1900s, a lot of these painted ladies went up. And I went into this house and was talking to her, walking around her part of the house, said, no, there's nothing here, there's nothing here, there's nothing here. We walked in her bedroom and I went, there's nothing, okay, you need to back up. And she took a step back and I said, no, not you. I had literally walked into, and it feels, I call it a psychic shower. I get tingles all over from head to toes, everywhere. It tingles. It just feels like you're in something just moving up and down your body. I like to call it a psychic shower rather than ants, because I freaking hate ants.
Me too, girl. Me too.
So, and she said, okay. And I said, okay, wait. You remind me of my daughter. And I built this house. That's why I'm here. But I don't mean to upset you. So she and I talked, and I said, okay, here's the deal. I moved out of what the psychic shower was and actually addressed the area and said, we're going to call you Mr. Books, because her bedroom was in what must have been a study, and there were built-in book shelves with cupboards above them. It was very nicely done. And I said, we would like for you to stay up in this cupboard. We'll empty it out. It'll be your spot while she's in the house, because it is freaking her out, and until she says it's okay, if you would stay up there when she's in and then free roam when she's gone. And we got affirmation on that. And honestly, when I do this stuff, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, you are so freaking crazy. This shit isn't real. Right? Because I've got Aquarius rising, and Aquarius rising is the inventor, innovator, and questioner of the zodiac. So I go back to I owned a dog grooming shop in the town, and I go back and was talking to my landlady, and she looked at me and she said, wait, what house? And I told her. She said, and what did you call him? I told her. And what did he look like? And this is about the picture. When I stepped out of the psychic shower, I had in my mind a memory that wasn't there before. But it was like a two-dimensional picture of the spirit I'd been talking to. And so I described him to her. And I said, he's an older man. He's skinny. He's tall. He's got black pants, white shirt, suspenders, and these little round glasses. And she looked at me like, what was the house again? And I told her. She said, that house was built by Mr. Bowles, who died 10 years before you ever moved to this town, and you just described him exactly. I knew him.
Wow, that's amazing. So
yeah.
So they kind of like put memories in your head, like as if they're your own, but they're not your own. Pretty much.
Kind of. I think of it more like, I think we're all psychic. I think just picture your head as a colander or a sieve, whatever you want to call it, all those little holes. And we get input. And that's what I'm getting is input. But most of us are told from the time we can verbalize, I have a secret friend. No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's imaginary. You know, that's sweet, baby, but we don't want to tell that to other people because it's not really real. And we start plugging our children up in a protective way. I think parents do it out of love generally. But my mom, I didn't really talk to my mom a lot, and she had seen strange things happen to me, so she thought I was already just freaking weird. When she was pregnant with my sister and I was two, almost two and a half, um, she heard me in my crib. She lived on an Air Force base. She was an officer wife. Dad wasn't home. She said she heard me in my crib going, "Hi, hi, man, hi, man." She said she was freaking. She's like 8.5 months pregnant. And she's like, do I run in and get my baby? Do I run out and save the baby I've got? So she decides to burst into the room, just burst into the room to grab me. And she goes in, and I'm looking at a completely bare corner. Hey, man, hi.
And there was, yeah, that's usually what happened. Like, I remember when I was a kid, funny story, my mom sent me out to the car. We were about to go grocery shopping. And I was looking at, mind you, Arwen, I was like 8 years old. I wasn't that young. And I was looking out the window in the garage. So the garage door was drawn, but you could see a reflection in the window. And I look, and it looked like a gremlin. It had pointy ears. It had teeth, like with spaces in it. Like each tooth was separated by like a centimeter gap. Like it was crazy. And I started freaking out, crying. And my mom, you know, my mom told me, she said that it was my own reflection that I saw, and it was just distorted. And I'm like, Ma, I don't have pointy ears. I don't have gaps in my teeth. Like it was insane. And you're right. Like, she immediately just brushed it off as if it was just in my imagination. So
Mhm.
did you have to like open yourself up, like a third eye opening type of deal, or you just kind of was born with this gift?
Born with it, but like I say, I really think everybody is. It's a muscle. You know, you use it, you don't use it, it atrophies. You got to wake it back up. And some of us have an inherent parented fear. I say parented because I think our parents do this, of the other side, of fairies, of fae, of gremlins, you know, and they don't want us to see these things. So they tell us that it's not possible, that it's not real. So we close that eye down for ourselves. I believe it's the Brahmins in India. I think that particular caste. I believe the reason they wear a bindi, that women wear bindis, is because it's supposed to block the third eye. I think. I don't know if that's just a rumor.
I heard something like that, but it has something to do with the third eye, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's definitely, you're right, it's something to do with the third eye, but whether it's to open it or close it, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, but I think that you can practice it. You can get a scrying stone. Oh, look out, Toad. I've got my feng shui toad over here, and it's dusty as heck. But you can get get a scrying stone. This is just a piece of obsidian, right? It's just polished obsidian. And look at your reflection in it. And I call it going fuzzy eyed. You let your eyes just go soft focus. And that's when you start seeing things. I'm sure there are people out there that won't look in mirrors for a long time. You know, I know I have friends that don't like mirrors because
I do too.
they're going to see something in it. And yeah, you probably are if you look long enough. There's a mirror in my house I don't interact with. I have not taken the time to talk to whomever's in there. But I get that psychic shower in my own house in one spot, and I haven't taken time to deal with it yet. I just address it and say, yeah, I know you're there. I don't have time.
Do you feel like a negative kind of vibe from that entity or whatever is in that mirror? Is that why you don't really address it?
Yes and no. Some of it may be my own personal. I have a parented fear of mirrors. I also have a parented fear of cockroaches and earthworms. I am. If you see a cockroach and I'm between you and the roach, you need to plug your ears and just walk away as fast as you can. I will shriek to alert the re-stage. Just done. But spirit work and mediumship, that I think it's just like some people are better at athletics. You know, some people have a gift for organization. But I think that, so there may be, you know, we may be prone to being more willing to exercise that muscle. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. So let me ask you this, only because, and this is a little selfish on my part, because you're so good at what you do, so I take your advice like it's gold. My mom passed away, and then her sister passed away, and my uncle passed away, all boom, 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 right after the other. And I surely thought that me being the way I am, that they would have come to me. All three would have tried to make themselves known that, hey, I'm here with you. I didn't go anywhere. But they haven't done that. Do you think it's because I'm just not seeing it, or do you think maybe?
Honestly, my mother never came to me. My grandmother never came to me, and all sorts of other people's relationships show up. Um, I, on one thing, for me, if my mom showed up, I'd get really weepy. And then when she left, I think that for me, I would spend more time searching for her and reaching out to her. And I know she's come back. She actually saved my niece. She saved my niece's life when my niece was about 2.5 years old. And we know it was my mother. I wasn't there when my sister lived in mom's house. So we know it was mama that Ava was trying to go out the door. And the door led to a bayou. And she came running, screaming, crying into my sister and said, "That woman was me." And my sister's like, "What are you talking about, kid?" And Avie said, she said she was trying to go out the door, and she had gotten tall enough to unlock the latch. This was the day Regina went to the hard store and put it a latch up top. But Avie said, she tried to open the door. She had the door open, and she said, "That woman said, you stop that." And that's
That's what
exactly
your mom would say.
exactly what Mama would have said. And Gina called me and was like, "Oh." She said, "I left the house." I said, "I don't blame you." So, but yeah. And somebody just said, a bloodsucking lover said that their dogs came to them. And absolutely, I've had animals come back. So
Oh,
that's been kind of
really?
cool. Yeah, but I think our own relatives, maybe, who knows, maybe on the other side, there's an injunction that you can't go talk to those. But I know people who've had dreams where their own, their loved ones have come back and sat down and had long talks with them. I had a dream where mom was in the dream, but it was my crazy. I have a dream where I'm in a crazy house or auditorium, and you go through all these trap doors and secret passages and all this stuff. And she came and helped me get out once. I don't think I've actually had that dream since she helped me get out. So maybe that was a thing. And I don't know if that was my mind bringing her back or if she was actually there, right? But
I
that's my
believe.
thought on why our own don't come back.
That's interesting you say that. That is interesting, because I have had dreams about my mom, but in every single dream, she doesn't say a word. I can't hear her voice. Like, she does not talk or anything. So that could very well be. I knew asking you that question was the right thing to do.
And
So let me.
let me ask you. You said you're Orthodox, right?
Yes.
So when they pass, did you cover mirrors?
Yes. Well, what it is when they pass, um, my family doesn't cover the mirrors. A lot of the other Greek Orthodox do, but what we do is we light a candle for them, and for 40 days we wear black, because in the way we were brought up, the dead stay on earth, roaming pretty much the earth. They stay around you for 40 days, and then they go and they cross over, whether that be you know, wherever they go. But for 40 days, they can see you. So you leave water, you leave a candle, and you dress in black just to show them, you know, we're mourning you. We miss you. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah,
respect type thing. And that brings me to my next question for you. In your practice, and this is another one of yours that I stole, in your practice, do you believe in an afterlife? I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. It's actually why I asked the question, because it fascinates me. Um, my afterlife is very Wiccan. It's you go to the apple land, you sit with the goddess, you sit with the god, you make your decision to come back when you're ready, and then you tell them, okay, these are the lessons I want to learn, and you're reborn.
so you do believe in reincarnation.
Not only believe in it, but know it's real.
So do you believe that like we all go like together with our loved one? Because here's what because honestly, reincarnation always kind of made me uneasy because in my mind, that makes me think that the people I love so much, I'm not going to see them again. Like once they're gone, they're born into somebody else, and then that's it. I won't get to see them as them. They won't get to see me as me, even though even if I don't see them as them in the flesh, I at least want to know that's them. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my mom and I'm her daughter. Whether it's somebody else, like whether I'm blonde hair, blue eyed in a different life, but that's my mom and I'm her daughter. Like, do you believe like that we all kind of go together, or you think like, you know?
Qualified. Because, and here's why. And I've said this on several videos, I don't believe in the concept of one twin flame, one twin soul. I think that we have multiple lives and we interact with and meet multiple people. And so, yes, some of those stronger ones that when we re-meet them in a life, yeah, we have that recognition of other. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of going to a town and knowing your way around that town. That's happened to me. And I have a terrible sense of direction in this life. But I knew that town. I knew where things were. I knew where certain houses were. Um, I had a memory. My high priestess and I were talking about reincarnation. And I said, I have a memory of this farmhouse. And it's pretty typical red with white trim. And she said, stop. And she brought one of her girls in. And she said, okay, tell the story. And I told the story, and it's of me being in a swing, being pushed by someone. That's pretty much my big memory. And my high priestess looked at her daughter. She said, what have I told you? And her daughter said, you've told me about living on a farm that she just described. I described like the surrounding area, and having two younger siblings that you like to push in a swing.
Oh my God.
It was very weird. But Leon and I had this, there was a connection there. There was just some connection there. But that's why I don't think it's a twin flame thing. I don't think the only person, that I think that's our wanting love to be really big. We
Yeah.
all want that. But I've loved more than one person in my life. I've been married more than one time. I've been in love more than one time. If we're loving people and we live a normal life, we're going to be in love with a lot of people. And some of them are going to feel like twin flames. Some of them are going to feel like our soulmate. Maybe they were in another lifetime, but that's not to say they reincarnated at the exact same time we did. That's a little selfish to me, for me to want the people I love to come back with me at the exact same time and not have their own reincarnation experiences, not make their own choices, you
Right.
know?
That's the selfish in me, girl. I'm a selfish person when it comes to, because I've lost so many loved ones, that it's like I don't want to ever think that was it. That was the last, the last time I see them, they were gasping for air on their deathbed. I just, but
Yeah.
I guess you're right. If they're happy and they're learning their lessons and
And who's
whatever.
not to say that they won't reincarnate in this lifetime? I mean, if you're in a motherhood period still, what's not to say that they won't come back as your child because they love you so much and they know that the lessons they taught you, that you'll pass back on to them. I would do that if I had that choice. If I died,
That is,
could come back as my niece's child when she gets old enough. Not yet.
you have a long way to go.
And so does she.
God willing. So, what is your favorite? Well, first, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite tarot deck? I knew you would have it right there.
Oh, yeah, it's the Gaian Tarot, and it is absolutely,
That's
the Tower deck. That's a Tower card. I love this deck. Love, love, love it. It's set in the Pacific Northwest. Some of these images, like this one, what's behind them, I go on retreat with the artist and author of this deck, and we go to a place, and some of her stuff was painted with that area in mind, so it's familiar to me. But yeah, the Gaian.
That's beautiful. It looks like a beautiful deck. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but just in case, what's your favorite form of divination?
Tarot for others.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, I have to use a deck that I'm not familiar with, so that it kind of clicks me out of my auto stuff. But lately, I've really been drawn just to being quiet meditation and letting information come. So, and I love pendulum. I love the pendulum work. I'm actually working on a way to lay out my major arcana and see where the pendulum wants to go. I've been picking and playing with it.
That sounds like a great idea. Have you ever had an experience with a negative energy that you had to get rid of, or that tried to hurt you, or somebody you know, or maybe a client that
Absolutely
you needed to help get rid of?
And it actually goes back to the ritual where I met my future high priestess. We did a ritual where we invited ancestors in, and the way the ritual was, the circle was taken down, a piece was left out that I have been since taught is essential. I don't skip it anymore. And we didn't do that piece. And I went to bed that night because the ritual was at my home. And I thought I woke up. It was like sleep paralysis is what most people call it now. But I couldn't move. But I felt somebody touching my body in ways that I didn't give them permission to. And in my mind, and I was so new to the path. I was just a baby at this. And in my mind, I just screamed, "Goddess, help me." And because I kept trying to get up to turn the light on. That was what I knew. If I could get the light turned on, it'd be okay. But I would be halfway there and then be back in my body. It was really a weird situation for me. But I finally felt it break, and I got up and got I literally was spread eagle on the bed when I woke up. I'd been tied down that way. But I got the light on, went to work. I owned my own business. And I got home, and I remember standing outside the door of the house I rented and thinking I was scared to go in. And then my Scorpio moon kicked in, and I got truly pissed about that. I yanked the door open. I marched into my house upstairs to where my altar room was, snatched up just a smudge stick. It was like one of those great big huge wraps of sage and sweetgrass, lit it. And I don't even remember if I walked clockwise, if I walked Deosil or Widdershins. I don't remember. But I walked around, and my chant was, because I'm very much a witch and very spiritual, "Get the fuck out of my home." And I smudged it from top to bottom. I smudged drains. I smudged. I was pissed. And after I was done with it and I sat in my house, and I could tell it was clean, my phone rang. And it was Liana, and she said, "Yeah, we really enjoyed your company, and we wanted to invite you to a ritual." And I said, can I talk to you about something? And she said, "Sure." And I said, "I just had this experience," and I related it to her, except for the smudging. And she said, "I was a little worried about that because we had a circle with like 20, 23 people. We all invited ancestors in, and we never actually said go.
You didn't close. They didn't close it.
Didn't close the circle at all. And then I told her, she said, well, do you want me to come down? I said, well, here's what I just did. And she started laughing. She was a Sagittarius, and she's about 5'1". She's a little bitty thing. And she was cackling. She was laughing so hard. She said, well, I think that probably did it.
That's funny you say that that's how you told it to get out, get the fuck out, because that's exactly what I do. Whenever I've had experiences with negative energy, you have to be like that. You have to be like, get the fuck out, because if they sense that little bit of weakness in you, they're going to try to scare you. They're going to try to intimidate you.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's gotten to the point where they don't even fuck with me at all. Like, because they're just, I basically let them know, like, I'll whoop your ass. Like, don't try me.
Yeah.
But, so, okay, have you ever had an experience where you met like someone new or a client or anybody and you just got a vibe off them, like, you don't have good intentions, or like maybe they had like a darker type of aura or energy? You find that happening?
Um, I mean, like a criminal or somebody who was going to go
Or
hurt
just,
somebody or something like that.
yeah, or like you got that feeling that they just weren't, that they had bad intentions.
No, the closest to that, I've met people who were shut down and were just testing me. But the closest I had to somebody who had bad intentions was I was reading at a party, and literally is in a bedroom, and people would come in, close the door, come in, close the door. And it was a mixed party, straight, gay. And I had a guy come in, and during his reading, I was like, well, you know, it looks like you're seeing somebody else, but I have a feeling this isn't a good thing, because I think the cards are saying that there's a triangle going on here. He got a little, embarrassed and said, yeah, I've got my boyfriend here, and then I've got a boyfriend in another state that I go to for business a lot. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's something you're going to have to work out. I mean, I'm not, at that point, I wasn't very judgy about that.
Mm.
Well, the next person who came in, and I just dump readings. When I've done a reading for you, boop, it's gone. And the next guy comes in and sits down, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, you and your partner, it looks like y'all been together for X amount of years. So, and I usually give it like a 3-year range, because that's what hits me. He's like, yeah, we have. We're really happy. He travels a lot for business. My mind does not kick in. My self-preservation gene has taken leave of its senses. And I leave the next card, and I'm like, oh, well, you may want to be cautious, because it looks like there may be a redhead trying to get involved in y'all's relationship. I started a nuclear war between an established gay couple at that party, because that guy went back out and confronted his lover right then and there. And of course, his lover was the guy who had just been in right before.
Oh my God. So God knows what he was thinking in his head, that you went back and forth in between them. Unbelievable. This is why I don't do readings, people. This is why I don't do readings. There's so much involved. I would charge way too much to do a reading. Like, you guys go through so much. I have to say I admire you for that, because now, have you ever used your tarot? Do you use your tarot in spell work at all?
I do. I actually have. I'll just show you the card. I won't tell you what it's working on. It's not for me. It's for somebody else. It's the rescue card from the Awakened Soul Oracle by Ethany, which I adore. And so I have it up there. It was part of a working I did, and I leave it up there because it's just like a mental, oh yeah, feed that. But I do use tarot for myself and spell work. Generally, it's when I'll lay a spread out as part of my spell work, and I'll develop spreads that are actually part of spell work, and then I don't tell people that they were done for spell work, and then I put them out so other people can use them. But yeah, I absolutely use tarot and spell work.
Now, somebody told me that one is supposed to, that people actually burn their tarot cards after they've used them so many times, like in spells, because they're so energized or whatever. What do you think about that? You think that there's an appropriate way to do that? Would you only use your certain decks for, spells as opposed to ones that you read with, or?
I'm going to be cautious in my answer because to each their own.
Right.
My students, if they were people I had taught in the craft, my students would know how to effectively cleanse their decks. There's many ways to clear your
Right.
deck. I clear my deck pretty frequently when I'm doing party readings, when I have a lot of people coming up, or if I'm at a big gig where there's hundreds of people. I clear my deck pretty while I'm working with them. So I think the idea of burning a deck after using it so many times for spell work is
Kind of disrespectful, I would have thought.
it, it's ecologically disrespectful because it's a resource that when you get another deck, it's using up things. And I am one to talk. I've got almost 600 decks. I got a lot of trees dead in my house. But there's so many ways. But if you have given yourself that knowledge, that boundary, then nothing I say is going to change that in somebody who does that, because that's the way they do it. It would be like me going into an Orthodox church and saying, okay, I want all the guys and girls to sit together.
Right.
Right? They'd be going, no. I had a friend in high school who's Greek Orthodox, and my youth group went to her church, and it was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was a gorgeous ceremony. But so yeah, I wouldn't burn them. No. Now I do have partial decks, and when I send people things, I often just pull a card for them and write my really quick, down and dirty interpretation of that card for them. But no, I don't think I'd burn a deck. That's like burning books.
That's how I thought. I just wanted to see, because somebody, and I was like, because I only have one deck. I only have one tarot deck, because I don't know if you know, but I ran into some issues in my life, and I lost everything I owned, like literally lost everything I owned. So slowly but surely, I started to get my stuff back, and that's all I found myself buying was just one deck, and it works for me. I use it for my spells. I use it to read, but I don't read for other people. So, and I have to say, Arwen, your affirmations, I wait for your tarot scopes every time you post, every week, and I do your affirmations, and I have to say that I really enjoy them, and they really do. I find that it really does help. And it's crazy because one time you pulled the strength card as one of the cards, and that same, like that whole week before, matter of fact, before I saw the tarot scope, I was doing readings on myself, and this is when I was going through an issue with my job or whatever, and I kept pulling the strength card, and that card always gave me confusion, because I never really am too sure how to interpret it. And then you pulled the strength card in my tarot scope for that week, and it was just, I have to say, it was just so on the money. I love those, girl. Keep doing them. I just had to tell you. Okay, so one last question for you, because I'm sure you and your hubby have a whole day to get to. Tell me about a spell that you performed, or one of your favorite spells, something that just worked really well, for you, something that sticks out in your mind.
It was a job spell. I was living in Griffin, Georgia, and sat down, pretty sure it was either day of or day before full moon. And I had a blessing bowl. I had incense I'd made specifically for job finding. What else did I do? I think I had a tarot card pulled out for job finding. And my goddess statue came to life and talked to me during that, which kind of freaked my shit out. That's the first time and the only time actually that's ever actually happened. No, I wasn't drinking. There were no illegal or mind altering drugs involved. Nothing. And the message she said was, "Don't be so narrow. And when I came out of that, the next day, and that was a Saturday night, the next day was the Sunday paper. I went through and did what I call a shotgun approach to resume sending. And anything that sounded remotely interesting, I sent a resume out. And one of them was an email resume. And I had forgotten, I had a tagline. This was back when you could add taglines automatically to your different emails. And this was for a company that was doing technical work. And my tagline was software. That part of the computer you can't kick. Super unprofessional, right? Not what you want to send out on a that's the reason they called me for the interview. Not only did I get the job, I became a manager in 6 weeks. It was a startup company, so everything was fast. And it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. It crashed. The .com crash, but that was the best, one of the most interesting spells.
Wow, you're gonna have to share that one. I like that. It's funny you say that. I had one of my friends that I made on here. He's actually, I subscribed to his channel. He subscribes to mine, and his boyfriend was having a hard time finding a job. So I said, you know what? Somebody asked me for a crown of success spell. This is a good chance to do a video on it, and I'll do the spell for your boyfriend. He emailed me 2 days later and was like, girl, that spell worked. He got a job, because they were in crisis mode, worrying about it. He wasn't even posting any videos because of it. And so I was very happy to hear that. I definitely want to start getting readings from you now that I know that you do it over, because I wasn't sure how you do it, if you do it like with webcam or if you do it with the phone or however you do it. But to be honest, I don't know why I was naive and I thought, I don't know what the hell I thought. I thought the clients came to you for some reason. So I apologize. I should have known YouTube. Sometimes I'm so smart, but I'm so slow.
I do email readings as well. I do. Those have been the bulk of what I'm doing right now. But I do these live video chats. Like I would say, we would sit down, and what I do is I'll ask you and I to do a breathing session together, and it's real short. It's like maybe 2 minutes worth, if that. And then I'll shuffle the cards. You tell me when to stop. I stop. I say, okay, are you left-handed, right-handed? If you're right-handed, like most of us are, I take my left, cut 3 piles, and then I ask you to give me a number between 1 and 10. So give me a number between 1 and 10.
7.
And I'd pull this and say, okay, today you've got Page of Cups. That's Child of Water. This camera won't focus.
I see it.
If it's not good and strong. Focus, camera, focus. There we go. But that's the Child of Water. She's the Cancer card. And so I would say you're being asked to dive in on something emotional and maybe write a love letter that you've been thinking about writing, whether to yourself or somebody else, but write it.
Oh my God. Wow, that is so crazy. Okay, let me tell you why. Y'all, if you haven't gotten a reading by Arwen, you need to, because this lady's amazing already. Okay, so my husband is in prison. I don't know if you knew that, but he's got another, actually about a year and 8 months to go, so quite a while. And I was just talking about how, I haven't been very good as far as writing him and, just doing this, because this is not his first time in prison. This is his second since we've been together. And the first time I was always like on it, writing letters every day and everything else. And now I'm just like over it. I'm like, you're always ending up in prison. This is bullshit. But then, something just told me, like, I need to still be there for him emotionally. And they look forward to that. They look forward to opening those letters every day. And so I was actually going to do that today, and you just brought that up.
Get that pen and paper out.
I'm going to. That's amazing. So I want to, when we get off here, I want to actually schedule something to, actual reading, because, I can read for myself, but I always like to have somebody else do it, because, sometimes and I don't know if you do this too, but when I'm reading for myself, I tend to want to ignore certain cards, like
Yeah.
or just pretend. Like I'll even shuffle that thing. I'll be like, no, I don't like the answer to that, and I'll just pick it up, shuffle it again, and guess what? The same cards still pop up.
Right, or two cards that mean that, yeah, that come together for that. It happens to me all the time. It's one of the reasons I used to read runes a lot for myself, and there's a certain rune that if it showed up, I was like, it's like talking to my mother, and I just put them up. So
That's what I do. I want to ignore it. So like when I have somebody else read to me, and I'm real like I've had a few readings done from other people, and it was cool, but I'm pretty picky. But I've been watching you for a long time, and even like I said, just your broad tarot scopes always hit it right on the head. Like, and just like today, you hit it right on the head. I mean, I don't usually talk about writing love letters. It's not something I do on a daily, even with a man in prison. I'm bad at it. I don't do it. And the fact that you touched on it exactly at the same time. So you're very connected with your cards, and that's what, I want.
and
So
sometimes I don't read the cards traditionally. I don't read them. I'm typing. Somebody wants to know if I've got openings, and I do, and I'm giving them the link. But sometimes I don't.
mhm.
I don't read them traditionally, right? I'll get a card up and it'll be like, well, this is what that means to me. But, and other tarot readers will be, if I'm reading for another tarot reader, I have to tell them, suspend your knowledge, because I read on a psychic level. And so sometimes I just say what the cards need to say. And it's not always right.
Well, you
um,
you were just saying something about how when you were teaching, because I watch your videos all the time, you were teaching about the intuitive reading and how you pull a card every day, and then when you get a new deck, and then you kind of see how you felt that day.
mhm,
You know what I'm talking about? So I'm just not good at that. Like when I read cards, I read it. Sometimes I'll even take the damn book and have it right there and be like, okay, what is it? Let me look that up again, because I'm just not. I'm not. You said, and it's funny you said everybody's psychic. I don't feel like I am. Like I'm by no means psychic. The only time, once in a while I'll get deja vu, or I'll be like, I feel like I had a dream about that, but it's like I don't like. I've opened my third eye,
mhm.
and I got like the first thing that came to my mind was a good friend of mine, and I just kept just I kept getting thoughts of somebody trying to buy her business, and she didn't want to sell it, and she was having a bunch of sickness, and I just put two and two together and was like, somebody cursed her, or somebody just their ill intent for her. And right away I started working on her doing egg cleansing. I had her doing egg cleansing. I was doing my spells from here. Mind you, she's in Florida. And that was the closest. And I asked her, I said, was somebody trying to buy your bar, and you didn't want to sell it? And, I knew nothing about it. And she was like, that's crazy. How'd you know about that? I'm like, honestly, after I opened my third eye, I just kept getting these thoughts. That's how they come to me, in thoughts. Not, I
Yeah.
don't hear, I don't see, I just think. And guess I was right on the money, but that's the closest I come to it. So I feel like I wouldn't be good at intuitive, and I shouldn't speak the negativity, but I'm just being honest. I don't, it's like I can't. Some people got it, I feel like you, and some people don't,
Well,
I
and it
can.
comes in different ways, right? You just said you are. You just get the knowledge. You know it. I call it a knowing. Um, and suddenly it's like somebody put that information in your head. Like, okay, girl, you gotta. Here's some information. Don't go use it. And you get, it's like bing, 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 bing in your brain until you use it. It
that
doesn't let you go.
that's what I feel like happened. And I can cast spells for people all over the world. Like I've done spells for people literally 1,200 miles away, and couldn't put my hands on them or anything, but it worked, and it worked damn good, but as far as like reading people, that's a gift, I think, and you're very gifted at that, Arwen. So for you guys, sorry, but the live chat, I can't see them because we had some technical difficulties here. But you guys, Arwen's amazing. So
I appreciate that. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun for me. Um, Somebody asked if I have openings. I do have openings. Right now, I'm not working on the weekends, and I don't do a lot of
Mhm.
late night stuff. So I'm in New Mexico on Mountain Time, so my scheduling can be a little rough for some folks. But if you
It's
know me,
worth it.
we'll get it worked out. But thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
doing this. I
much.
really enjoyed it. I like being on the other end.
I knew you would. I'm like she interviews everybody, but I haven't seen an interview with her. I want to know so much about you. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm so sorry that we couldn't get this done on my channel. Thank you so much for being so amazing and kind-hearted and letting me do it on your channel because I really wanted to get to know all these things about you. I hope I didn't get too personal. But I
Yeah,
really much enjoyed it. And I look forward to getting readings from you and just keeping this open line. I feel like I know you so much better now, and you're such a beautiful, lovely person. And I
thank
look
you.
forward to, doing maybe more live chats. I know Scientist was saying how he was so excited to see this. So I know a lot of people are going to be interested and intrigued. Thank you so much, Arwen.
Very cool. Seek joy, y'all. I'm going to end the broadcast. Is that
Bye.
okay? Okay.
Yeah.